Hey, what's up, lads? So, before we even start placing units, I gotta say, this game kind of baits new players into thinking pure stats win fights, right? But once you reach, mid to late campaign, the entire flow flips, and it's more about who controls action tempo and who actually keeps the front line alive. Random damage doesn't clear stages, coordinated burst does. So yeah, this list is literally about team synergy, not standalone stats. Anyway, let's just jump into one of the biggest ones people always bring up, Gojo. So everyone already knows Gojo is massively overpowered, and that's not even news, but the real reason Gojo feels unfair is how well Gojo scales with units that extend fights instead of rushing them. You put Gojo behind Hikari or Yuji, and suddenly Gojo gets to cast ult multiple times in a single wave because the front line refuses to back down. And Gojo also pairs insanely well with Yuta, since Yuta keeps uptime bonuses going and Gojo doesn't waste rotation time. So the only issue is Gojo doesn't hard carry if you have no sustain, so don't raw rush Gojo with no healer. Honestly, easily an S tier. Alright, switching to something tankier, let's talk Hikari. So Hikari is actually the glue unit that makes a lot of comps feel playable. Not only tanking, but also generating heals and tempo, and sustaining itself while letting the rest of the squad scale up. And Hikari turns Maki into a monster, turns Gojo into a save nuker, and turns Sukuna into a siege weapon. So Hikari isn't just frontline, but a rhythm controller, and gives you time to scale. And yes, is just a mandatory slot for late game boss setups. So easily an S tier. Now, since we mentioned Maki, let's jump there. So Maki is one of those units that feels weak if you run it solo, but the moment you have consistent sustain behind Maki, the DPS ramps insanely fast. Maki with Airi or Ui actually becomes stable and doesn't get clipped instantly. It's very glass cannon that needs a babysitter. So yeah, I'd say A tier. Okay, moving to Shoko Yeri next. This unit basically decides whether the rest of your comp even gets to play. Shoko's debuff, cleanses plus healing actually make risky comps viable, because losing a DPS isn't just losing damage, it's losing tempo. And Shoko allows goofy comps to survive mistakes and scales into long boss fights really well. Hikari plus Shoko plus any damage dealer is just the functioning core. So absolutely, I say S tier. Let's do Sukuna now. And so Sukuna's weird because solo Sukuna early looks like pure damage, but Sukuna really does well in comps that create long fights, where sustained AoE is more valuable than one big nuke. Works really well behind Yuji or Hikari, and pairs stupidly well with Gojo because they cover each other's downtime. The only drawback is Sukuna isn't a great unit if you have no pacing control. It's just throwing Sukuna into a random comp doesn't fix anything. But still insane though, and I put it in S tier. Alright, let's pick Yuji. So Yuji isn't the best, but honestly the revive and vanguard role basically allows fragile comps to stabilize early game. And Yuji feels like training wheels, but also still relevant later because Yuji gives Gojo and Sukuna consistent openings. Not best in slot, but super reliable. I'd say A tier. Okay, switching to Toji. So Toji is basically your surgical strike unit. Toji dives backline squishies, forces AI shifts, and breaks positioning. Works really well in PvP comps or versus healer heavy teams. Toji is not the best pure damage dealer in raw stats, but the value comes from breaking enemy formations so your nukers don't get stalled. Needs the front line to operate safely. Solid S-ish, but I'll call it A tier. Jumping to Utahami. So Utahami is decent early because buffs and healing kinda work universally, but once you get Shoko or Ui, Utahami starts feeling replaceable. Utahami is like the diet healer. Usable but not optimal, so B tier. Let's hit Mai next. Mai has a consistent range damage, but cannot carry late game because the scaling falls off. Mai is a great filler early and works better than expected when paired with Gojo because Mai clears trash while Gojo outcycles, but long term you bench Mai. B tier. Alright, now I want to talk Hikari's opposite type, Nanami. So Nanami is consistent damage, CC utility, and good in long fights. Not explosive like Gojo, but Nanami slots well into structured comps where damage uptime matters. Feels like a second core DPS. I'd say A tier. Jump into your Mojito. So Mojito has cool debuffs, but doesn't add enough to justify replacing higher burst or sustain. Niche pick for gimmick comps, but realistically outclassed. C tier. Panda next. Panda tanks early, feels okay, but falls off super fast. Not bad early game though for beginners, so C tier. Haruta Shigemo next. Fun toolkit, envision patterns, but very inconsistent and unreliable in actual boss settings. More of a gimmick disruptor. B tier. Uiui now. Uiui's actually cracked late game because of regen and buffs. Pairs insanely well with Maki or Toji because Uiui keeps squishies alive. Weakest early, but scales hard. A tier. Nobara's next. Nobara can debuff consistently and has decent burst windows, but the damage ceiling isn't there anymore when compared to the current meta. Works early but falls off. C tier. Megumi. Summons are fun early but weak late. Can do meme comps with control units, but not meta. C tier. And we have Esso. Lots of dart, but dart just isn't meta relevant yet. Potential later, but now meh. C tier. Then Jinpei. Looks supportive, but stats are too low to justify usage. D tier. Maimona Samir. Mobility good, damage not. D tier. Noritoshi Kamo. Mid, everything. D tier. And Toge Inamuki. Silence sounds cracked, but conditions and uptime make it too inconsistent to rely on. D tier. Alright, last one, Yuta. So, Yuta is a weird hybrid where damage plus utility plus synergy scaling exists, but Yuta isn't a hard carry. Yuta basically amplifies other units and fits in comps where Gojo, Sukuna or Maki are already doing the damage. The guaranteed hits make Yuta reliable though. I'd say A tier. So that's kind of where everything sits right now for synergy-based building. And honestly, the meta could shift super hard, depending on whether dot builds get proper scaling or if new sustain supports drop. If you found a broken comp, or you're running a weird Magubi summon build that somehow works, drop it in the comments because I'm definitely testing more teams.